All right, let's get into it. Tonight, we're going to peel back the layers on something that's supposed to be the very bedrock of American democracy, the right to vote. I mean, it sounds simple enough, a foundational promise. But the research we're diving into today asks a really tough question. Who is that promise actually for? Okay, so let's start with the basics, with the big idea itself, America's democratic ideal. Democracy is absolutely fundamental to how America sees itself. It's the whole brand, right? A government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's the promise. But, and this is a big but, the researchers we're following, Drakulich and Reeves, they point to this huge contradiction right from the get-go. They say that the very laws about who gets civic rights, well, they've often been designed to exclude certain people. And that creates this massive tension between the democratic ideal and, well, protecting a specific group's interests. That tension, that's what we're digging into. So where does this clash actually play out in the real world? The research hones in on one really specific and pretty controversial place, a loophole in the law. And look, this isn't just some abstract legal theory. This loophole has a staggering real-world impact. Get this, the study shows that because of felony disenfranchisement laws, more than 5%, that's 1 in 20, of the voting-age Black American population is prevented from casting a ballot. That's a huge number with some serious consequences for our democracy. So how on earth did we get here? Well, it didn't just pop up overnight. Let's do a quick run-through of the history the paper lays out. In 1870, the 15th Amendment is passed, giving Black men the right to vote. Awesome, right? But almost immediately, Southern states start passing new laws, including felony disenfranchisement, basically to neutralize that new political voice. Fast forward to 1965, the Voting Rights Act comes in and pushes back on a lot of this stuff. But then, in a 1974 Supreme Court decision, the legality of felony disenfranchisement gets cemented, creating the system we're still dealing with today. So all this history creates this battleground right inside people's heads. The researchers found there's this psychological tug of war going on between two really powerful competing ideas. Think of it like two different characters living in our heads. On one shoulder, you've got the idealist. This is the part of us that believes in all the democratic principles, free press, checks and balances, you know the drill. But on the other shoulder, you've got the guardian. And the guardian's main job, according to the research, is to react to what they see as a racial threat. Their goal is to keep things as they are, to protect their own group's status. Now, to study how these two forces duke it out, the researchers use this term, get ready for it, relational civic rights consciousness. Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know. But the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. It's not just about what rights you think you deserve. It's about how you decide who else gets to have those same rights. It's all about where we draw that line. So the researchers have their framework, right? The idealist versus the guardian. Now they just needed to see which one was really pulling the strings. And oh boy, what they found is where this whole story takes a fascinating turn. If you just looked at the surface, you might think this was an open and shut case. Polling data from 2020 shows that a clear majority of Americans are in favor of people getting their voting rights back after they've served their time. So problem solved, right? Well, not so fast. And this brings us right to the heart of this entire study. What happens when those big, shiny democratic ideals crash right into our more instinctual desire to protect our own group? Which one gives way? Okay, so here it is, the big reveal. Take a look at this chart from the study. That top line, see it? That represents people the study identifies as having low racial resentment. And for them, everything works exactly like a civics textbook says it should. The more they believe in democracy, the more they support restoring voting rights. The idealist is in charge. But now, look at the bottom line. This is the group with high racial resentment. Notice something. It's almost completely flat. That's wild. It means for this group, it doesn't matter how much they say they believe in democracy. It has practically zero effect on their support for these voting rights. It's like the democratic ideal just gets switched off. The guardian completely overrules the idealist. So what does that actually mean? It suggests that some Americans are basically saying, yeah, I love democracy, as long as it doesn't rock the boat, as long as it doesn't threaten the way things are right now. Okay, so let that sink in for a second. What does a finding like this mean for the future of voting, and really for the future of democracy as a whole? Well, the implications are pretty massive. First, you get this really dangerous feedback loop, right? The legal system takes away the right to vote from certain people, which means the remaining voters are the ones who get to make the laws about, you guessed it, the legal system. It also shows that for some, support for democracy is conditional. It's fine as long as it protects their group's standing. And of course, when you take away a community's right to vote, you make it way harder for them to advocate for themselves and fight for change. It's a dynamic that can lock in inequality, even with laws that seem neutral on the surface. And that leaves us with a pretty tough question to chew on. If our belief in democracy can be so easily shut down by our more tribal instincts, then what is that belief really worth?